Faris, thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. And actually, just before we hit record, for those who are watching or listening to this, yes, you are seeing us on separate screens, not in person. The irony being we spend so much time together at masterminds and face to face, yet we've still not been able to get anything in the diary. So rather than make people wait, we've scheduled this in on a recording. So apologies, it's not in person. That being said, you'll still get everything you need from this episode. So Faris, those who don't know you, how would you describe who you are and what you do today?
Um, I will describe myself. I've discovered actually that I have superpowers.
Ooh.
The previous podcast a week ago, uh, we had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she posed me. She stopped me, and she said, "Faris, do you realize you've got superpowers?" And I was like, "Do I?" And my superpowers are two, actually. One leads to the other. The one is I'm a master of burning ships and taking islands. But the mystical superpower that I have is whatever I believe I achieve. Every set of goals that I wrote down, as far back as I remember, or like since I came to England, it was that really, without realizing that I'm actually following a system. It has been that I everything I put my mind into, I make a reality. So it is kind of the law of attraction, and you manifest what you visualize, and whatever you ask, the universe will answer. So yeah,
So you're a manifest, a visualization expert, goal achiever.
goal achiever. Let's call it
Describe.
that way. Yeah.
Obviously, we met quite a long while ago now. We first met. How long ago was it we first met? It must have been like 2017, 18, maybe, if not earlier.
Exactly, precisely.
Perfect.
22nd of October, 2018.
Oh my words, you remember to the date, and that's something that's important that we're going to touch upon because these dates are important.
October. Now you made me just realize that like major things happen for me around October time. I need to look up these dates.
See what the
See
important
what the
levels
important
are.
thing. Yeah.
So, this is the Forest that we know today, someone who lives life to the fullest, in abundance, massive mindset, massive goals achieved as a result of said mindset. But not everybody knows how you kind of started this process. And if we go back even further, what led to this? Because the person we see before us today achieving great successes, and we've got some really exciting things to talk about where you're taking that now, in terms of multiple business owner, having set up things that are really taking on a life of their own in a really short space of time. That being said, you were born into quite humble beginnings in Syria. Your life was completely different. So for those people who don't know your story, have never heard of you before, or have not understood how you've become to be the person you are today, tell us what life was like for you, kind of starting out.
Yeah. Well, uh, in a nutshell, well, yeah, you're right. I'm from Syria. I was born in Syria. I lived there till I was 18. So very humble background, um, highly educated family. Education is a big thing for us. In fact, education is the way out of poverty and achieving things. Resources, especially in our city, are very limited. So your ways out or to change your life is through education, and that's what my parents did. My father died. I lost him when I was 3, but both of my uncles who kind of looked after me, and they were the father figures in my life. They were very highly educated, an eye surgeon and a civil engineer, and education is a big thing in our family. So yeah, I followed steps, and but my uncle at that time, he moved to England in the mid 90s. So after I finished my high school, I said, "Let's cut the chase. Don't do what we did, and
Mm.
come to the country, come to the West early, learn the language, and you know, if you the younger you come, the easier it gets for you." So yeah, I moved to England nearly 22 years ago, age 18. For
English at the point?
no English at that point.
No
Very,
English at all.
yeah, very, very,
Must have
very
been
poor
really
English.
scary, despite the fact that you're from a highly educated family who, value education and the fact that you had not necessarily just the humble beginnings, but the challenging beginnings. Losing anyone close to you is difficult at any age, but to have grown up without that actual father in your life, passed away, as you say, when you were 3. You've got a really strong matriarch of the family, and your mum is, up there in the most important people within your life, but you had uncles who stepped in, education really, really important. How big of a challenge was it moving to the UK at 18 with
Oh,
no knowledge of the English language, knowing you're leaving mum behind?
oh, wow. Woof. Now you got me there. Every time we. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, mom at the moment going through a tough health challenge. But yeah, she's the rock. Really, she's my why. She sacrificed her life for us, and yeah, so it was really difficult leaving her behind, and coming in. But she was very strong. She
Yeah,
never showed any weakness for us, really.
she
Like,
wanted the best for you.
absolutely, she always say, "Look, go get it, son. I believe in you." Um, yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I know this is something like we talk quite often about the importance of the reason why and the people
Yeah,
make who we are. And I know that your mum is a really important figure. And I'm so sorry to hear that she's going through health troubles. But I know that you're going to be helping and supporting her to the best
yes,
of your
yes,
ability.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So
It makes it all worthwhile. It makes you realise why we're doing the things that we're doing. Because there are definitely days where you think, why am I doing all of this? And if you're the chief burner of boats, it's like, shit, now how do I get back?
how do
Shit,
I get
how do
back
I
that?
get back?
Ah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, seriously, because I did burn a ship when I moved over. I was like, "This is it. I'm coming to this country. I must make it here. I have no. There's no way. Looking back. Unfortunately, Syria. When I left Syria, it wasn't as bad as it is now, but it was very bad. There was no future for me in there. So I knew that my future is in this country. My future is here. So I have to make it. I had no. There's no other route. This is
Yeah,
it. It's one way.
all or
It's
nothing.
all or nothing. So yeah, I literally decided to cut the Arabic language out of my uh, um, daily activities. No Arabic music, no news, no TV, no
Wow.
nothing, no Arabic friends. I had no Arabic friends. I
Was the purpose of that to make
learn
it
English.
non-negotiable?
It's
Like, all or nothing.
because
I'm going to learn English. I'm going to live in the Western world. I'm going to play by the rules, etc. It was literally a case of putting pause on everything. To
yeah, it was a survival call really, because I knew that I'll be competing in this country. I'm competing. I'm not competing with Arabic speakers. I'm competing with English speakers. So I must master the language. I must do it. There's no other way.
how did you learn, and how
How did
quick?
how quickly? It, um, well, initially I came in to study English because I wasn't accepted to go straight into the A levels.
Yep.
So yeah, I remember when I did the entry exams, I was like a lower intermediate level.
Mhm.
And one word I remember, I think you have to fill in the gap. It was actually a word tenant. That was the very first time. I did not know what tenant means. And I was like, yeah. And then my uncle gave me lots of grief. I was like, don't you know? Like, it's a simple word. Like, have you not? I was like, I no, I didn't.
Never spoken English before.
Yeah. And then anyway, so I remember, yeah, I scored. Yeah, it was lower intermediate. in there, and lower. You have to be at least upper intermediate or proficiency, I think, in the English class certification at the time, so I can go jump on the A levels. But yeah, so I started there. I did, I think, a couple of months of English courses, but then I tried it. I went to the college. I said, look, I want to do science subjects. So do I really need English? Or like, obviously I need English, but do I have to be fluent in English to do it? And so I chose all the science subjects. So they accepted me. And actually, they accepted me 2 months later, after I arrived. And that was really tough, Tony. I didn't know. Actually, fast forward 4 or 5 years down the line, I've discovered that actually I'm not only that English is not my first language, I'm badly dyslexic.
Yep. So the challenge was even greater.
Greater. And the other challenge that I had was to convince people that I was actually dyslexic. It was like, oh, it won't work because English is not your first language, so the test won't apply to you. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll live with it. And the funny thing, once I went to a student support officer, I said, look, I'm struggling, with this. And she looked at me and was like, well, you've done well enough so far, so you've got a coping mechanism anyway, so I can't help you with anything.
Wow.
So
What a world
literally,
we live in. Like,
yeah,
first of all, obviously, I'm English. I speak one language. I studied French and I studied Spanish. I did really well at them at school. I actually studied to quite a high level. I got A's in GCSEs, etc. But then I stopped. And like anything in life, you stop doing it. I can order 2 beers in Spain when I'm on holiday, and that's pretty much the level of my Spanish at the minute, because I consider myself, and I'm English, so I'm allowed to say it. I believe that many of us, I'm not going to sweep in statement, but a lot of us become quite ignorant because so
yeah,
many people are willing
everybody
to
speaks English.
learn the English language. That being said, if it's not your first language, it's not easy. I've got children now studying English, and I can't even understand the terminology for the part of the English language that they are learning. It's very difficult. We have the grammar police with the there, spelt differently, etc. So it's not an easy language to learn. And you couple that with the fact that you were, struggling because of dyslexia, but the fact that when you asked for help, you were told you've managed this far. I think that's what's wrong with the world today. Asking for help is a huge, huge thing. And we're going to touch upon that because I know you faced many a challenge while reaching your levels of success. But even in instances where people are asking for help to be told, or you've managed thus far. So is this where a bit of your kind of resilience and your need to succeed in spite of it came from?
Uh, well, it made no difference in any way. I was like, okay, if I get help, that would be a bonus. If not, all right, okay, we'll find. Yeah, life goes on, really. So that never stopped me, and I moved on with things, and it was another coincidence, really, that I met a random person at work, and I was telling her that I'm so badly dyslexic, and no one believes me. She said, "I believe you. Come and I'll and I'll do the test for you." And it was a long story. I probably sorry for another day, really, how that came about. But she ended up doing the test completely free of charge. It took she did a really really thorough test at me, and it showed that I've got high IQ but very low dyslexic kind of scoring. So and she said, okay, we'll take that report to the university and show them. And she gave me it was like 80 pages full report on everything she did. And then they believed me then,
Yeah.
but I didn't get any support after that anyway, because at that time I didn't have the English passport, so you don't get any of the gadgets or the toys. The only support that I had, they gave me extra time in my exams. So
Wow.
I had some extra time, but I never used it anyway.
You never used the additional time then.
I never used the additional time, so I was done on time. I've done it for so long, finishing on time with everybody else. So
Is this a bit of a thing, like a challenge accepted? You've known me long enough now to know that one of my phrases is that I am partially fueled by a desire to succeed and be successful, but quite a big portion of me is fueled by spite for everyone who tells me I can't
I
or I
can't
should.
do it.
Is there a little bit of that inside of you? Like, okay, in spite of this, watch me go. Is there a little bit of that inside of you?
Um, yeah, I think there were definitely there's a bit of a competition
Yeah.
uh, spirit inside me that you know what, yeah, I'll do it anyway. Um,
Yeah. But then, obviously, in spite of those challenges, coming to a new country with a language that you didn't know, knowing that you had to pass all of these tests before you could get to do your A levels, but it wasn't a case of stopping there. Obviously, education, as you mentioned earlier, one was really important to yourself and your family. So then you went on to study, am I right in thinking not one but two different degrees?
correct. Well, that was another coincidence. Oh, look, where
Well,
did that come from?
because you raised your hands. So the Riverside is congratulating you for not one but two degrees. So well done.
Well, again, on the 2 degrees, that was another story as well, because I was actually, Tony, I wanted to do medicine in the first place, but I didn't get into medicine. So I did 2 years um of A levels,
Yep.
but I didn't get the conditional offer that was offered to me. So I didn't make it into medicine. So I took a year out, and I went. That was the fighting spirit. I was like, screw it. I said, look, I'll take care of myself. Don't worry. I'll 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 pay for my expensive. I moved out, and I was working like literally 24/7 at some point. Um, working in an office during the day.
Hmm.
Come to West London, finish around 6 o'clock. Take the suit off. Put Domino's costume on. Put the Domino's sign on the car, and go deliver pizzas for a few hours. And in the evening, I'll get my free pizza. And I used to sell the pizza because you get bored of eating pizza all the time. So the free pizza that I used to get, I used to do night shifts at the hospital. So people was like, "Okay, what do you want tonight? I'll order you pizza." So I get cash for that pizza and my free dinner.
So you've
And
always been a bit of a hustler.
yeah, you could say that. And then work during the night. Do a night shift in the hospital, doing like porter and pushing beds around and that. So I've done that for a couple of months, and then I think the universe had told me to stop. I crashed my car because there's no way you can continue like that. But anyway, the story that I wanted to get to is how I actually chose to do optics and how I ended up in optics. I remember still the day. It was 19th of December 2004. I received my last rejection letter from medical schools, and that was a crushing thing for me. I was like, okay, this is the end. I can't. Everything I've worked for, and now I'm already like 3-4 years behind my peers. I'm not even at uni, and now I can't even do medicine. And receiving that letter in the morning, going to the hospital in the evening with wearing the blue shirt with the blue trousers, pushing bins around, and uh, walking into A&E where all the doctors wearing the white coats and the nurses and all that. So doctors are up here, and I'm just down here, and I was like, this is it. My future is over. It was very heartbreaking night. I went, but it was that was the reason I remember that night, because everything has happened for a reason. It always does, right? So after midnight, at that level of depression, I wanted some peace. So I went to the prayer room, turned the lights off, and I just sat there. Probably I was praying to God, saying, what do I do? Like, how do I move on from here? Medicine is out the window, and what do I do? And literally, I had that spark of genius then, and I was like, well, hang on a second. Those who study, who do eyes, what did they study? I didn't even know the word at the time, optometry. I knew the place optician, where you can go and buy glasses. But so, what do you study, or what qualification do you need to do that? At that time, I had my Nokia, 3310 at the time, so there was no smartphones.
But
There was
you can
no
always
even
say,
Google. There was no Google in there. So I went to the theater and I searched on Yahoo how to become an optician, or what optician, or something along these lines. And actually, Specsavers popped on the list. And I was like, oh, okay, career with Specsavers, and how to become an optician. I was like, okay, well, I like the sound of that. What does that degree called? And it's called optometry. And I applied there and then.
so from going from, the heartache of medicine being something that you'd always wanted to study, it was the only thing that you planned to study. The roller coaster of applying repeatedly and getting rejection after rejection, which undoubtedly knocked your confidence, to then receiving that kind of final letter and knowing this is it, it's not on the cards for me anymore. We were talking just before, and I was saying about asking for help, and that previously you'd asked for help and never received it, asking help from a physical being, and this time around you did it in a completely different way.
Exactly.
Exhausted from the job of being the porter, the Domino's delivery driver, working in an office, and would it be fair to say it was kind of a, last ditched attempt? What now? Please help me. And you went to the prayer room, you prayed. And what did it come just as a like thought process? It came out of the blue, just a
Completely out of the blue. Completely, literally, I don't know what you want to call it. Download a spark of genius. It's just, would I do it?
and that led you on a whole different path, because there's
Complete.
many people who know you now as the property optician. It stuck with me since the first time I heard it. Property optician, helping investors see deals clearer, which really, it made me laugh, because you moved into optometry. So you applied there and then you got accepted. Where was it you studied? You studied in.
Well, actually, I did not get accepted. This is the other thing. That's why I got 2 degrees, because my grades in the end were not good enough for optometry either. But they offered me an alternative degree, which was it was in optics. So I did optical management. So it was major in optics and minor in management and business. So I did that for 3 years. I was offered, and then 5th of I'm telling you, there's something about October.
You're gonna
But
Google that.
yeah, 5th of
Yahoo it.
5th of October, I got my very first job at Specsavers. I was the Saturday boy who stuck in the filing cabinet. Probably the worst job for me anyway. The biggest guy in the team, stuck in the smallest room in the building, and English not the first language, and badly dyslexic, in charge of filing. Right?
So probably not the best role for you, but I suppose another lesson in resilience, because you've taken a lot of nose rejection beatings along the way. You want to study this, no, that's not on the cards for you anymore. Call it divine intervention, call it a download, call it a cry for help. You got this idea to study, in the world of optometry. However, didn't get accepted into that. Took the Saturday job, and a bit of a full circle moment from that date in December, seeing this Specsavers advert. If we fast forward, you not only worked your way out of the little back office with the filing cabinet, but you
Yeah,
went on to become a franchisee. So you
correct.
studied optometry despite all of the odds,
Yeah,
got your degree, became an optician, and took on your own franchise of Specsavers. Back then, when this was, just a bit of a vision to you, thinking back to the young man moving to the UK at the age of 18, English is not even a second language. English is an idea of a language at this point. Knowing
yeah,
that you've got that level of responsibility on your shoulders of following in the footsteps of your uncles, those father figures in your life, knowing that you want to do this to make your mum proud. how big an achievement was it when you kind of got to there, and then how did you decide? Because obviously there's been a lot of changes since then.
Yeah, 100%. Because that kind of took when I arrived 2002, quite did the first degree, second degree. So I qualified 2012, 2013. So 11 years later.
A true
Um,
true example of resilience.
yeah, and even getting into the Specsavers branch, it wasn't an easy ride because I had a bit of a hiccup during that, and actually I left Specsavers and I worked pretty much for every single independent, and
Did not know this.
I yes, yeah. So the move back to Specsavers was actually another divine intervention.
You
Yeah,
need to tell us, how is this? How did this come about? Because this is a big part of who you are now. You know, the
yeah.
person you see before
Because
today.
what happened is I was so hungry for becoming a director. So after I qualified, I was performing great, blah blah blah. But there was like a bit of a hierarchy in the branch that I was working at. There was so many kind of older, bit more experienced,
Yeah,
to penetrate and just, although my performance was really good, I couldn't kind of
through that
pass them.
ceiling.
Yeah, and I wanted it yesterday, sort of thing. And I had a bit of an argument, and I said, look, I'm done. I think I've had enough of Specsavers. I want to try somewhere else. So I tried independent. I tried going back to uni. I started an MSc, and I started doing a PhD, but that was waste of time, waste of money. So I dropped that, and then I worked pretty much 24 every single like big chain and independence, and then I landed in a good place, independent chain. I worked really really hard for them for 2 years, and I put everything into the business. Um, and 2 years later, my daughter was born on Valentine's Day.
Oh, a gift.
Yeah, what a gift. And again, that was another, turning point in my life. At that point, I called the office. I said, "Look, I received Tala arrived, and I need to take my paternity leave." They said, "Okay, fine, congratulations, but just to let you know, paternity leave is not paid, or you get statutory pay for it." And that was like a bit of an insult. 2 years working really hard for that company to not not be recognized for it. And anyway, when I joined that company, I was promised that I will be buying shares and become an owner eventually. And when I had that, I was like, you know what, I need to meet the owner on my when I come back, and that's what I did. I met the owner 3 weeks later, and I said, "Look, where do you see me? Let's cut the chase. In a year, 3, 5 years, where am I?" So there was no clear vision for me in the business, and I felt like this is it. My time is up, and it's time to set light to the ship.
So this was a big analogy of you burning your boats. You've got a brand new baby.
Yeah,
You're you've kind of burned a bridge, or could have been looked at as burning a bridge by
yes,
walking away from one of the biggest,
yeah,
names within that industry, Specsavers. How did
yeah.
you look back there? Was it a tail between your legs kind of
So,
moment? Or
so yeah, no, 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 no. It wasn't really because I think again everything is meant to be. Really, things are. So on the way back after that resignation, after I walked out, and I had to pull over and scream in the car,
yep.
"Ah!" What have I done? Literally 3 weeks old baby, two mortgages to pay. Um, you know, literally walking away from a very well paid, 6-figure salary. At that time, it was unheard of. So it was really it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And but I said, look, again, I'm not looking back. You know, there's only one way. So I pulled over, reached out to my phone, literally calling everybody on my phone, texting messages, sending emails. I'm a freelancer. Hire me. I'll work. And so I did freelancing, literally, Tony, from the 1st of April till the 1st of August, non-stop, because I knew that this is it. I'm not employable anymore. I will either have my own business or I will invest in properties. And I kind of did the two together, actually, because 7th of August 2017, I attended the first Misopic,
Mm-hmm.
and I signed up to a few courses,
As you do.
as you do. But it's almost like the two things happened together, hand in hand. 3 weeks later, after that, my offer got accepted. I got the keys for the first franchise in Ely. A year later, I got the second shop. We opened the second shop from scratch. A year later, we opened the hair care business, and COVID hit,
Yeah.
and and that was another, I think, wake up call. That you can't rely on just one stream of income. You really have to. You have to diversify. You have to invest properly. And running a business, it wasn't easy.
Mm.
You know, although I had lots of managerial skills, managerial experience before, but once it's your business, there's different. You know, you are your worst boss. You
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. It's very easy to realise that you think you've had shit bosses in the past and then you become your own and realise there is far worse out there.
yeah.
There's so much in there that I want to unpack, though, because, as much as you do it with a smile on your face and you laugh and you joke about burning the boats and, there was only one direction that you could go in. There are many things that have happened during that time frame that would have derailed many people. I know you've dealt with a lot of highs and lows and you're very much a determined person, but rejection after rejection from the application process to get into what you thought was the stream that you wanted to get in of medicine, to then still continue, have this whole change of direction. I'm going to go into optometry. I'm going to follow that route, to then be rejected again. You've always found a way. Then continue moving forward. Many people who are an entrepreneur inside
Yeah.
still have the fear of, or the employee mindset. There's just a smidge of it that goes, yeah, but you get paid every month, it's guaranteed. You could have continued in there going, okay, they'll progress me or promote me at some point within my life. I've got a steady income. I've now got this new baby. What does it take, or what are the traits that you think make a good entrepreneur? Because there are so many things that have happened there. And I suppose my next question is, you now believe that everything happens for you. I know you've done a lot of inner work. You've spent a lot of time focusing on like the self-development. You've spent a lot of time with, Tony Robbins, his kind of mentality. But surely there were times during that where you just thought, this is a load of shit. There's got to be more to life than this.
Oh yeah, always. Yeah. So yeah. The thing is, what makes us move, Tony, are two things. Our current situation
Mm-hmm.
has to be painful enough
Mm-hmm.
for us to move, but also we have to have a very compelling future.
Yeah.
So our mind is very simple. It's like we are like donkeys. We still, we operate with a carrot and a stick.
Yep.
So, but you really need to have a very painful starting point, but also a very compelling future that attracts you.
So, what was the future that attracted you to it? Because, yes, you wanted to be an entrepreneur, which you did through the highs and the lows. You set up not one, not two, but you had two franchises. You moved into the here inside of the business and an additional kind of string to the bow. Yet another grenade thrown your way. Here's COVID now that you've got this started. You know, how does someone who's maybe facing those challenges now where they've realized, actually, I'm not really fulfilled in the role that I'm in, and I've just been continuing through the motions because, the fear of the stick hitting me is a little bit too fearful. How do you design the life? What was the big vision? Was it always known, or was it just I know I need and want something more than this?
There was always a big vision. I think the fear is going back. You don't want to go back to where I was. And since I moved Syria, it's just I wanted freedom, like true freedom. We were denied that for so many years, and it was so painful to live under you know oppressor, and being suppressed and oppressed. So yeah, the seeking freedom is what motivates me. I don't know. I set big goals, and
Yeah.
I go after them, and I'm fear. Yeah, it's scary. The unknown is scary, and like I still, wake up with anxiety, with tight chest. I was like, how are we going to do this? But new level, new devil. It's
I think that's important for people to know, though, as well, because there are going to be plenty of people who are thinking, I want something different, I want something more, these visions and these goals, which have led you on a path from setting up on your entrepreneurial career, a vision of building a successful property portfolio. The next vision was, I want to, reach kind of millionaire status. And that's not necessarily something that people who are born into such, as you say, oppressive circumstances, in a world where freedom is not the done thing, and where decisions are made for you, and you should be grateful for what you've got, let alone have these big visions and goals. So you're continually moving forward with that, which has led you to a path. As much as you're saying, I've had these big goals, and I think it's important for people to know that you still have these fears, that each time you move up a level, and that's something that you're definitely focusing on now, that there are these challenges along the way, and that it's not always an easy ride, because it's very easy for people to look at someone who's out there. I know you've done huge things, made massive investments in terms of finances, sacrifices in terms of walking away from, what are deemed to be comfortable situations. You then had another lovely little girl. You've got this family who rely upon you. And then you decided and made this goal and vision that actually, although, optometry was something that I wanted to do, I've achieved that. Portfolio, started achieving that, well underway, which led you to the path where you then started hosting your networking events. What was the
correct.
drive behind that? This young man from Syria who didn't speak English, to now be hosting events, having
and,
other
and,
speakers
and, and public speaking, eh?
and public speaking, which obviously played a big part in us getting to know one another. What
Yeah.
led to that desire?
Um, I don't know. I don't think it was um, like planned, to be honest. But it's just the opportunity came, and I took it. I
Probably oversimplifying it, though, isn't it? Because there was an investment of time, an investment of money, neither of which you really had in abundance at that point in time.
no, but it's as I said, I saw the opportunity and I just went for it.
And it's led to
The
much greater things.
well, funny enough, actually today, Tony, this is not this 18th of March. This time last year was the very first time I met Alfie Best.
No way. What are the
Look,
odds?
I've got goosebumps now.
Ooh,
Actually, I've shared the story this morning. I'll tag you in it.
how amazing. So this is really interesting. So anyone who's listened to the podcast before will know that one of my previous guests is the one and only Alfie Best. He is known widely as the Gypsy Billionaire.
Billionaire.
Very interestingly, come from very humble beginnings.
Yeah,
Had a desire to succeed, faced many challenges along the way, including, becoming millionaire and losing pretty much everything in his late 20s, to then building a business up again, to be widely now known as the the gypsy billionaire. But the reason we mention his name, and coincidentally or not coincidentally, as the case may be, it's the date that you met him.
I met him. I took a selfie with Alfie at the backstage after his speech, and I put, like, jokingly, "Let's do business. Never miss an opportunity, Alfie."
And sent it as a message to him.
I said, well, I tagged him in the story, okay, and there we are. Like, literally a year later, we are business partners.
So tell us how this came about, because this is kind of, and I think it's important for people to know that you can set these big visions and goals that might feel like they are unachievable. And, if we look at this as an aerial view, it should never have happened in the grand scheme of things, that this
No,
young man who moved from Syria to get a good education with this vision of becoming a doctor, moving into the world of medicine, you've taken many a detour along the way, is now setting up in business with someone who for a year he idolized as a business partner, potential business partner, someone that you could learn from.
yeah,
How did that come about? How did this
uh,
business idea come about?
amazing. So that day, I actually signed up to take the network franchise in Cambridge. Right. So I started hosting PPA in Cambridge. But also on my application form that day, they said, what places do you want to choose? So I put down Cambridge because it's local to me / Dubai, and I handed the application down, and I actually remember Kevin reading the application. Cambridge, Dubai. His eyes lit up.
This was never a thing, because the networking event that you're making reference to, for those who don't know, is not an international thing at that point. It was all UK based networking events.
Yeah.
Why Dubai? Why was that there as a vision?
Well, I've always wanted to go to Dubai. Like, Dubai's got a big thing in my heart. I've got friends and connections in there, and it's close to Syria, and I have lots of family, close cousins. They lived in. My sister lived there for a few years before she moved to Canada, and I always wanted to kind of go back to Dubai. It is the land of opportunities, so many benefits. It's growing. The Middle East is actually considered that part. The Gulf is, believe it or not, is the safest part. It's very stable. Leaders with vision. So many pluses. So yeah, so that was always something in my head. So when I submitted the application, so I went to the interview whether to accept me or not. So they said, "Oh, we like your vision. It's going to be challenged. Do you think you can do it?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I can." Of course I can do it. So at this time, I'm contacting my friends. I was like, "Look, I secured we've got the franchise. I need your support now." But they said, "Okay, well, what's your plan? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Look, we must link. We must have this bridge linking investors and and developers between the two countries. It's a golden opportunity to invest in the UK, but also it's a golden opportunity to invest in Dubai for all the good reasons, tax free, blah blah blah, attractive. But so why don't we do that?" So I sold that idea to them, and then I met Alfie again in another event around July time. I said, "Look, I've got this vision. We set a date. We're thinking of doing it in end of November. Would you like to come as a speaker?" He looked at me and was like, "Well, it's going to be difficult. It's this, it's that. But you know what? Yeah, I like to support. I like new ideas. And yeah, so why not? Here's my email address. Speak to my SSN. Let's take it further." And he's just been super, super helpful and literally the rest is history, because he was very helpful throughout. He was the keynote speaker at the event.
Inaugural event in November 23.
Yeah, and we at the event we had VIP lunches and VIP dinners. And on the back of the event, 2 days later, we were invited to meet the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, which is known as RAK.
Yep.
And you know, just amazing country. Really, they welcome you with open arms. Okay, we like your idea. Why not? Bring it on. We'll support you. We'll help you. Facilitate golden visas for investors. Blah blah blah. It's just like, I'm like, where did that come from? And yeah, so one thing led to the other. At this point, I joined the Platinum Partners, because that Tony Robbins Platinum Partners, and it's been on my vision board for 3 years that I want to be. I've done all Tony Robbins work, and
Yeah.
yeah, so all the training and all the proper training uh, after COVID, and so becoming a platinum partner was a big thing for me.
Mm.
So I signed up to become a platinum partner to start my the year in February, right? But you know, the past 12 months have been super challenging on so many different levels, personal, family, and all that. So I was like, I signed up, paid my deposit, but actually deep down I had doubts that I was like, I can't really do it. There's like physically the time is not possible. The financial
Yeah.
deals, things going on, and I was like, I might just pause it. Then I was invited to a Platinum Partners event. So they invited me to go to Portugal. This is at this point I have not started my year yet, because my year starts in the financial trip in February. So I went to Portugal to do business mastery. It was a virtual with only 6 platinum partners in there, but the energy, the vibe was just amazing. And after day 2, I had this amazing idea of actually a super duper networking event that will bring investors, and kind of flip the whole training and masterminding, and we can literally take it global. And I crunched the numbers, and I was like, bloody hell, like this is there's so much money to be made. There's so much services to help, uh, and look, why not? And on the back of that, I was like, you know what? I really can't afford not joining the Platinum Partners.
Like if
And
this is what happens
if
in one
one
day.
event, one day, gave me that. At the end of the event, I reached out to Alfie. I texted him at 6 o'clock in the morning. I know he's an early riser. I said, Alfie, can you give me a call when you have a minute? Literally half an hour later, he calls me in the car. He said, all right, where are you, Faris? Are you in Dubai? I said, no, I'm actually in Portugal, and I've just done business mastery with Tony Robbins. He was like, okay, well, tell me, what have you learned? So I told him about the idea, and he said, you know what? This is the very first time you do making sense to me. And I was like, I like the idea. Okay. And I'm doing something along these lines. I call it Best Wealth Network. How about we join forces on this? I was like, yeah, game on. Let's do it.
So from a challenging position when you were having a bit of a wobble, should I really do this? Shouldn't I? And many of us have been there, whether it's been, quitting the job, setting up your own business, partnering up with somebody, saying yes to an opportunity, walking away, challenge around time, challenge around investment. And yet again, this is one of the reasons why, you talk about whatever it is, divine intervention, the universe, something speaking to you, and you went along to this event. And I remember because you sent me a message saying, are you free on these dates? And I was like, oh, I'm training. I'm always training. I wasn't available. I should have been there. I should have had this epiphany. But this didn't happen. It was your time to do it. You went along in spite of, you know, oftentimes people can see the outer shell and they'll see the Pharisee who sat there with a smile on his face, always got something nice to say about everyone. But you were going through a really tough, challenging point at this in your life at this point. As you mentioned, some things going on personally, some things going on financially with fingers in pies, lots of businesses and spinning lots of plates. it would have been very easy for you not to. Were you just drawn to it? It was
It was very easy to say no, honestly, because, and I wouldn't be. I've got valid reasons not to go. But I did it, and I actually on that last day of the event, I phoned Tony Rowe. I was like, "Here we go. Here's a
take my
chat.
money.
I'm in. Take my money. I'm in." I booked my tickets and I flew to Canada, and I spent 10 magical days with like most amazing platinum partners, and most importantly, I met the legend. I met Tony Robbins, because that was actually another goal of mine that I wanted to. I always said I want to meet Tony and thank him in person,
Mm,
and um, so the event, the financial day, on day one, every single day, and actually on day one, I don't know if I told you this story before. I got there and I said, like, it feels weird, like I don't belong in here.
oh, wow.
I'm surrounded by multimillionaires, billionaires who's done it. Yeah, okay, fine, I'm a business, but I only know optics.
Mm,
I only know how to invest in property. Like, I'm small in here. Like, the imposter syndrome kicks in.
absolutely.
Like, I don't fit in here. Like, I feel,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
Why
fake.
am
What
I
am I
here?
doing?
Yeah.
And Tony asked, literally, his first question is, "What's your objective? Why are you in here? Why are you here today?" And I wrote down, actually, I'm here to embrace uncertainty, love, and connection. That's what I want, because investment, to be honest, I'm not in a position to invest in big deals and all these high tech. The things that he brought, it was just next level, and then people made millions on the back of that event. But I didn't feel there that I was there for that purpose. I was there literally just to embrace uncertainty and love and connection, and just go with the flow. Whatever I learn, whatever comes out from here, I'm happy with it. And be careful what you wish for, because literally whatever you ask the universe, it will deliver. Tony, I played full out during the event, and I was on camera pretty much every single day. I was interacting with every single speaker. And on the final day, at that point, I was like, I still haven't had my chance to have that intervention with Tony.
Were you a little disheartened at that point?
No, no. The morning before we started, I just couldn't sleep. I went for a walk on the mountain, and I was like, I'm gonna have the intervention. I'm gonna talk to Tony. I'm speaking to Tony today. Walking up and down. I physically, not just visualize it. I rehearse the conversation in my head. This is how I'm gonna ask. This is what how I'm gonna thank him. This is what I want, and take it from there. I'll probably rehearse that conversation, I don't know, tens, 100 times or whatever. 2 hours later, I kid you not, Tony picks me out of the 550 plots in that room. So,
You walked it into existence.
you know, so this shit works.
Again, so much to unpack from it, because I think if there's a message running through all of this, it's if you don't ask, you don't get. And
100%.
that belief will take you a whole lot further than just wanting or needing something, that internal belief, even if you don't understand where it's coming from. Because, if we go full circle back to the beginning, from very humble beginnings, your life could have taken a very different course. Many people who lose a parent really young will go off the rails, will move cities, countries, towns, whatever. You move to the other side of the world, it could have very easily gone a different way when you were told you can't, it's not, acceptable for you. And many people would have realized that that's their lot, working in the hospital overnight as a porter, going straight to the office the next morning, Domino's delivery driver, and you must have these pinch me moments where you go, hang on a minute, am I still the same person who, at the age of 18 left everything and everyone you knew behind to come to this, to create this whole new world? You've had many challenges along the way, but throughout every single one of them, that drive, that determination, that resilience, a need to succeed, a burn your bridges, or for want of a better phrase, a fuck you attitude that means you have no choice but to succeed, has led you to more and more opportunities, more bigger challenges along the way. Now, partnering with a billionaire, having been selected from over 550 people in a Platinum Partners room with Tony Robbins, which is the stuff of dreams for many people. I'm very conscious of time. What's next for you?
Global
Okay.
domination.
One or the other, wasn't it? A lie down or world domination? So we're going with the world domination.
No, honestly, I'll take that. Yes, it is a dream. Yeah, I definitely will not settle. Is growth is one of my biggest needs that I like to keep fulfilling. But more recently, it's not about. They say it's not about the goal. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. But actually, more importantly, it's neither the goal nor the journey. It's who you become along the way.
Read.
You know, it's yeah. I will not settle. Money is a driver for me because it's a vehicle. Life give us not challenges, because life is very generous to give us opportunities, because in every challenge that it's an opportunity for growth, for becoming more resilience. So I'm enjoying this game of life. Really, I call it's a boot camp. You know, it's a boot camp. It's a training for resilience, and the harder we sweat in training, the less we bleed in battles, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me personally, it's been an absolute honour to have seen you progress in such a short space of time in the grand scheme of things. From us meeting at that first multiple streams event way back in 2017, to being privileged to teach you public speaking, to help you overcome some demons along the way, but to watch what is undoubtedly just the beginning of something exciting.
Yep.
I always ask my guests one question. So I'm conscious of time. I'm going to ask you this. What is the one question that nobody has ever asked that you wish they would? Or what is the one subject matter that you wish someone would touch upon, but they never do?
What everybody should do is um, pick both fear and faith are imaginary thoughts. Okay, so fear will stop you, will cripple you. Faith will keep you moving forward. So I would say trade your fear with faith.
I like it. I want to say a huge thank you for your time. I know that you've got a manic life just like me, hence the reason we're doing this in
Yeah,
our little
absolutely.
boxes rather than face to face. Really appreciate you taking the time. It's been an absolute honour to witness your success during the last 7 years or so, and I can't wait to see what the next 7 bring. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.